Okay, this is 10.4 geometry, problem number 20. You want to find the values of x and y for each of these inscribed angles and then the measure of each of the interior angles. So what we have here is an inscribed quadrilateral ABCD in the circle here. So we could use the theorem that if a quadrilateral is inscribed in a circle, which it is here, then each of the opposite angles are supplementary. So angle A is supplementary with angle C, and angle B is supplementary with angle D. So two equations that we could set up. Angle A, which is 9y, plus angle C, 14x. Since those two angles are supplementary, that means the two angles add up to 180 degrees. So that's one equation. But the problem with that equation, if that was our only equation, we have two variables in that equation. The other equation that we could set up is 24y plus 4x. Those are opposite angles in that quadrilateral. Those are also supplementary. So 24y plus 4x, that's also equal to 180. So what we have is a system of equations. We have two equations with two variables. There's actually a few different ways that we could solve this system of equations. One is by graphing. I'm not going to show you that right now. Another is by elimination, where you would want to eliminate a variable. But the method I'm going to use here is what's known as substitution. So when you substitute, you have to solve one of the equations for one of the variables. Sometimes there might be an easiest equation and variable to pick. Here, it's probably about a toss-up. So what I'm going to do is take the second equation, 24y plus 4x equals 180, and then solve it for x. So if you solve the equation for x, you can first subtract 24y from each side. And then you end up with 4x is equal to negative 24y plus 180. So since the equation is not yet completely solved for x, we then divide each side by 4 to completely solve it for x. And so you end up with x is equal to, 4 goes evenly into negative 24, negative 6 times. Don't forget about the y though. So it's negative 6y. And then 4 goes evenly into 180, 45 times. That's plus 45. So the second equation is solve for x. Here's what x is equal to, negative 6y plus 45. So since x equals negative 6y plus 45, we could substitute that. So here's why the method is called substitution. But what we want to substitute that into is the other equation of our system of equations. So since I solved the second equation for x, now I want to substitute that back into the first equation. So the first equation was 9y plus 14x equals 180. So then we change that to 9y plus 14 times x, but x is equal to negative 6y plus 45. So we can substitute that in, negative 6y plus 45. And then all of that was equal to 180. So that's equal to 180. And if you notice, what we end up with is, in this equation, after we substitute it, now there's only one variable in the equation, and then that variable is y. So we can solve this equation for y since there's only one variable. And what I'm going to do is distribute the positive 14 to each of these terms. Still have the 9y. 14 times negative 6y is negative 84y. And then 14 times 45 is 630. And then the right side is still equal to 180. Now we just add like terms. 9y minus 84y is negative 75y. We can subtract 630 from each side. If you subtract 630 from the left side, this will just go away. Subtract 630 from the right side. 180 minus 630 is negative 450. And then divide each side by negative 75 in order to solve it for y. So you end up with y is equal to 6. So that's one of the things that we want to define here. Y is equal to 6. And I could substitute 6 into this first equation that I wrote earlier, the second equation, or what might be the easiest is substitute y into this equation to find the value of x. X is equal to negative 6 times y, so that's negative 6 times 6 plus 45. Negative 6 times 6 is negative 36 plus 45, and then that's equal to, x is equal to 9. I believe once you find the values of x and y, then the rest should be kind of easy. Find the measure of angle DAB. Angle DAB started off as 9y, but now that we know the value of y, we could find the measure of that, and so on, the measure of angle ABC. So that should get you started on this problem.